Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brady. I will be your host tonight on a night where the Winnipeg Jets unfortunately do lose to the San Jose Sharks 2-1. And I am joined by my good buddy, Nick Lynham from Top Line Media. Nick, how's it going, man? Why are you here? Why did you say yes to this? It's currently 12:17 in the morning. It's already the next day. And you were crazy enough to say yes to this. I appreciate you coming on, buddy. How you doing?
I could be better staying up that late to watch them lose 2-1 to the San Jose fucking Sharks. But I'm here because I'm an absolute sicko that loves talking hockey. So let's talk some hockey, I guess.
Hell yeah. And I mean, hey, with a game like that, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about. But I think for me personally, the most important thing, I think, is the context coming into this game. Obviously, the Jets are on a bit of a road trip right now, but the biggest thing, the big news in Jets land, Kyle Connor, our boy who was on the road to potentially, maybe vying for a Rocket season. He's been doing pretty good. We get the news that he is now out. They're still confirming the time frame of 6 to 8 weeks at the moment. He's being flown back to Winnipeg to really get that all checked out. But anyways, other than that, we also got the news that there was going to be no suspension for Ryan Strome after just trying to straight up kneecap Kyle Connor. Before we get into the game, what was your thoughts on that?
George Peros is an absolute joke. Like, absolute joke. How do we have the violent gentleman running Department of Player Safety? Like, not even just this hit. The NHL was wild this week with the hits from behind, none of which got penalized. And then you had the good Branson jumping because none of the hits get penalized. He gets a game. You know what? I thought the David Perron 6 games was fine. Like, I mean, he was kind of a jackass in that situation, trying to take a guy's neck off. I mean, I don't have a problem with that one as much as some people, but that knee, man, was terrible. If you watch it back, I tweeted it out this morning. He misses with the chicken wing first and then sticks the knee out. I blew my ACL at 20 years old because of a fucking hit like that, so maybe I'm a little sensitive to it. But that is absolute garbage. You can end a guy's career, man.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is dog shit, and especially if you look at like the recent, the recent suspensions in regards to kneeing. I did a whole just Twitter search. Suspended for kneeing. Most of them end up being 2 games, unless they're some sort of retaliatory one. I know Arthur Kaliev at the start of the season had a 2 preseason game and 2 regular season game. Make of that what you will, type of suspension. But I thought this was at least deserving of 1 game. I'm a little frustrated that 2 games. The one thing that I can give Strome is he was kind of on that path already, but it was definitely dirty. I'm not going to stand up for him for sure, but should have at least been a 1-game suspension. It is kind of dog shit if you ask me.
About the pathway, all I'm going to say is he had 2 strides of space to change that pathway once Kyle Connor cut to the middle of the ice. Like, I think it was absolute dog shit. Then there was some guy from Anaheim, like, talking shit about Kyle Connor losing his knee on Twitter. Like, what kind of world are we living in right now? It's just absolute bush league all around. I don't know, man. That pissed me. We lost one of the best scorers in the NHL. Fans don't get to watch this guy for 6 to 8 weeks because of a player like Ryan Strome. Like, who the fuck's Ryan Strome?
and in the game against Anaheim too, right? Like, Anyway, but anyways, hey, I mean, we can't be talking too much crap about the about the teams.
Worked up. You got me worked up already.
I got to wind you up right at the start. Got to make sure you're still awake for this one, as it is already the next day. But if you are here with us in chat, we really do appreciate it. Drop a like on the stream, and if you're listening the next day, I don't blame you. But anyways, returning back to this game, we can't really talk too much trash about the Pacific Division California teams that are in the lower half of the standings, as we played against a Sharks team that coming into this game was I think last in the league, and the Jets just can't pull it out against them. So considering the context, considering the Kyle Connor stuff, and everything else, how bad is this loss in your opinion? Is this someone a loss that we should be, I'm not saying we should pull any sort of panic button or anything like that, but it just, I don't know. Like it's always difficult when you lose to a team that's at the bottom of the standings.
So I think my answer is going to surprise you, and I don't think it's that bad of a loss because despite that, their last week and a half, they've been kind of a pesky team finding their way here. They've scored goals or more in all 5 of their last 5 games. It might be 4. I don't have it in front of me. And in 4 of the 5 games, they made 2+ goal comebacks. Like this team hasn't kind of given up on the season despite like the almost record-breaking brutal start. They've kind of found their way here. So I don't think it's that bad of a loss, but what is bad is the fact that again, they're losing the game when they go 0 for 5 on the power play. They score 1 goal in this game. So things like that have been kind of trends at times, I think amplify it a little bit. But I don't think it's because San Jose is as bad as they were to start the year, just because you're kind of getting them at a tough time here.
Yeah, and it is interesting, and I think they kind of mentioned this on the broadcast and everything too, but I think it did ring true that, when you are a team that is this bad, at least to start the season, you get to a point where you're just like, whatever, man, let's just go out there, try to ruin some other team's night, have some fun. Going to the end of the game, you saw how frustrated Mikael Granlund was with some of the offside calls. Like this team was very clearly in this to win it. The Sharks that I'm speaking of course. So I kind of land somewhere in the same spot as you, but at the same time, it's like, we look at this Jets team, and you and I, we were hanging out on Sunday. We watched the Anaheim game, and that was a game where the Jets didn't really, again, against a pretty weak team, didn't really come out too hard. Games of note that I can remember specifically, obviously the Carolina game where they get outshot, like what was it, 16 minutes without a shot.
Yeah.
I'm the only reason I would worry, and I'm not necessarily fully on the worry train or anything like that. But I'm questioning it because this team seems to have some trouble starting games. And again, tonight, Laurent Brossoit kind of bailed them out as they got, what was it, like how many? I have it written down here.
14-1 at one point. I'm pretty sure 14-1 was the peak of it.
It was 11-1 after five minutes. What is how? I can't do the math on the spot right now, but what is that like?
A goal every 30 seconds, or
a shot
every 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's that's. I mean, anyways, coming back to the question, should we worry about how this team starts their games? Because it seems like they usually try to end up finding their stride midway through at some point, but it definitely has me a little concerned.
I think it's a fair concern because, and I keep pounding this drum, and some people were kind of surprised by it earlier, but I already felt this team was a top 6 scorer short. So never mind that you add in, now you're missing Kyle Connor. I feel that they're too short from a contending level top 6. And then if you go look at the numbers, this is a bottom 8, probably even worse now, team at generating offense at 5-on-5. Like quietly, like we've had some pretty big numbers put up by some guys, but as far as some of the analytics, that is where this team struggles. So when they do put themselves behind the game, it's fair to wonder if they're gonna pull themselves out of it. Though they do seem to answer games pretty well down one, and you see a push, and you saw it today. But with the fact that they don't consistently generate from that slot, and today notwithstanding, I thought they did a pretty good job there. They didn't bury. That it should be a concern for people going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's the one thing that this team has kind of preached is its depth. And along with that is consistency. If this line isn't going, then this line's going. If this line's not going, then this line's going. But I think that it's more than that. I think it has to do with more of a mindset thing. And I think that tonight kind of exemplifies a night where, again, maybe they just kind of got in their own heads, coming into a barn where, again, you don't expect to have the biggest match, the most difficult matchup. Just obviously, Rick Bowness was touting the fact that, the Sharks shouldn't, you shouldn't be taking them for granted or anything like that. But, that's a message that maybe didn't get to every single person on the team, unfortunately. But luckily it did get to Laurent Brossoit, who does draw in tonight.
Yes.
I know that I'm bearing the lead with the power play. We will talk about that. I think we'll spend a good chunk of time on that, I'm sure. What did you think of LB's game tonight?
Great. Absolutely no complaints. He was everything they could ask for and more, considering, in my opinion, San Jose was the more dangerous team most of the night. It was kind of a coin flip type game. You kind of hope the talent on the Winnipeg side wins out, but Laurent Brossoit made 5 bell save after 5 bell save all night, and he looked like confident doing it. It wasn't like he was just throwing himself there. He looked composed. He looked in control. And after tonight, after a very, very tough start to the season, he finds himself on the positive side of the goal saved above expected leaderboards here.
Really?
So after only 2 good games,
Yeah.
like, that's how big those last 2 performances were. Yeah, he was a minus 1.1 on money puck going into today, and then allowed 2 on, I think it was 3.8 ish. So yeah, he's going to slightly cross that threshold, and all of a sudden, both goalies after a very tough start have been the backbone the last little bit, actually.
Yeah, and that's also, going back to our previous conversation about like worrying about this team, is that Connor Hellebuck and Laurent Brossoit have been the reason the Jets have been able to rebound from, they lost a couple games in a row there. And it seems like they have been really the backbone, kind of the Winnipeg Jets, as we always know, relying on their goaltending. But I found that, like, again, I've never been happier to be proven wrong. I'm not sure if you caught it, but we did a report cards show a couple episodes ago it was after the Chicago game. And I gave Laurent Brossoit an F because I was expecting him to be, I mean, not necessarily a goalie who's saving, 2 to 3 goals above expected every night or anything like that. But I expected him to be a backup you could go to confidently in a game like this. And, when you're playing against a team that is lower in the standings. And again, the Carolina game, I think, was really big for his confidence. And I mean, hey, he got pretty much the same treatment right at the start of the game today too, right? So, I mean, hey, if Laurent Brossoit's in the net, maybe the Jets should be allowing like 10 shots within the first 10 minutes. But I wouldn't quote myself on that necessarily. But anyways, I think it's now time to move into the important stuff. The stuff that is that I think what I would describe is what costed the Winnipeg Jets this game here tonight was the power play. Went 0 for 5 tonight. The Jets got the benefit of the doubt with the refs in regards to getting a lot of calls their ways, some not so much, but we won't talk about that. And now they are 0 for 11 on their road trip. Nick, what did you think of the power play today? Because I have some very mixed thoughts.
So do I.
I didn't expect to have this conversation today. At least in this way.
like I think back to the power play. I think it was about 9 minutes left in the second period. And I liked it, despite the fact that they didn't score. They got 4 different chances from 4 different angles. There was some mix to it. Normally we're used to seeing Connor Morrissey Shifley. They actually had some different opportunities. You had the Morrissey bomb. I believe it went off the post in that one. Then you had a Ehlers one-timer.
Perfetti drove the net.
Freddie Rapper,
yeah,
and Velarde crashed. They had some mixed opportunities, and it was one of those nights where it wasn't stagnant. You were seeing some movement, yet only a couple of quality chances per power play really got through. I thought San Jose did a pretty good job of getting in front of pucks, blocking pucks. They were very compact and low in that zone, and it seemed to work. But I don't know, man, because there were some quality looks, but you can't go 0 for 5, 0 for 11, 0 for 12, whatever it is on this road trip. You expect to win games when you're not scoring consistently at 5-on-5 or generating consistently at 5-on-5 anymore. Like they need to figure out this power play, and there's too much talent on it not to. Like, even without Kyle Connor, you have Josh Morrissey, Gabe Velarde now back in, which adds a whole different element than they had, even with the Kyle Connor in. You got Cole Perfetti, you got Nick Ehlers and Mark Scheifele. You should not have 0 for 12 stretches. Like, you got to put a puck in the net.
Oh, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. I think what I saw tonight was a team that was a little bit freed of kind of what they were. I don't know if it's necessarily structure that's been taught to them in regards to, always trying to look for Connor as the trigger man. I don't know if that's just a built-in, personal bias, but it felt like the power play was a little bit more free to move the puck wherever it felt like it needed to, wherever the space was, which was super exciting. Like I had the exact same thoughts in regards to after that second period. Because it was, again, we got chances from multiple players, which doesn't really happen a ton. Usually we get Kyle Connor trying to take his one-timers. We get maybe some sort of kind of play where it goes down to Perfetti and up to Velarde. Maybe you get a Morrissey shot, but in general, they're looking for Kyle Connor. And as much as I love Kyle Connor, he makes a lot of his offense on the rush. He's not an in-zone scorer as much as he is at least he's not a stationary scorer, which he kind of turns into. He tries to be that when he's on the power play. But so what I saw tonight, I felt like a step in the right direction, but at the same time, they kind of got lost trying to figure out really what to do. What chances should we take? When should we be shooting? There were times in the, the second period of power play was very, very good. In the third period, they had a lot of chances. They held the puck a lot, but it seems like they just didn't know when was the right time to take their chances. I mean, there was the power play where Ehlers, like two times in a row just tried to force a shot through, and it just made no sense. And then he misses the net. And so like I as much as I liked the direction that I saw the power play going into, obviously you have to keep in mind, as you said before, you can't be going 0-5. That just can't be happening. I'm not necessarily worried, but I'm not sure the way they have it currently set up is the right way to have it. As much as I love having Nikolai Ehlers on that right side, I think he's got a good shot. I think he's also just not great with puck management. He does provide a completely new dimension of being dynamic on that right side, because he's not standing still. If he gets the puck, if he sees a shot lane, he'll go for it. If he doesn't, he'll do some sort of move and try to go down or try to go up. Whereas Kyle Connor was maybe a little bit more, I'm just going to let the defense play their zone. But I don't know. I don't really know what the solution is here. And now we're going to be 2 to 3 months potentially, if it's really bad, without Kyle Connor.
I have an idea for you. It's a slight tweak.
Shoot.
There's a slight tweak they need. They have the right 5 guys. They have them in the wrong spot.
I agree.
So you want Morrissey as the QB. You actually want Ehlers on the left side, where he does that loop, builds up some time, and he's got to be looked at as a shooting threat, but he has that clean pass.
Mm-hmm.
You get Mark Scheifele in the middle, where we've seen it when the Jets' power play was at their best. His shot is so good. Teams have to respect that as a shot. You get Gabe Velarde down low in front of the net, and go watch Gabe Velarde's 24 goals from last year and tell me how many are tips. Tell me how many tips are bouncing off that spot into the high slot and getting open. Get him in front of the net, and you bring the kid over, and you let the kid quarterback from the sidewall. Because you know what? Cole Perfetti's shot is sneaky good.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to respect the shot, but his mind's going to completely take over that power play as the quarterback on the right side. That's all you need to see. Give me a couple games of that look. I guarantee they're pawing one.
I was gonna try and poke holes in what you said until I think I had the right spot to target you. I thought I had your weakness, but then you said that Perfetti would be actually the quarterback. I thought you were going to mention that Ehlers would have a lot of the puck management duty, just naturally being on that side. And and I'm sure you're kind of mentioning also a couple of years back when he was on with Pionk on that power play, and the second power play was significantly better than the top power play. But then I was going to be like, well, what about handedness? Ooh, this and that. Which I think is important to consider. I definitely think it's important to consider. I don't think it's the make all be all. I think it's something you just need to work with,
So I'm going to say this though too. I don't want Nick Ehlers taking a one-timer. I want him skating in, and if he's going to shoot, that snapshot is more dangerous from Nick Ehlers than a one-timer off the half hole.
And more controlled. And you can
Yes.
fake that into a shot pass kind of thing. Oh,
To Shifley or Perfetti.
or
Yes.
no, but like if him streaking in on the left side and hitting either Shifley in the slot or Velarde who's standing in front with just like, give it to me. Give it to me, Rick Bowness. Give it to me, Brad Lauer. Give it to me.
I'm telling you.
So that's it. We have solved.
We've solved it.
We've solved it.
Send them the tape.
Send them the tape,
Someone
guys.
listening,
Clip this, please.
I'm telling you.
Alrighty. Well, that's unless you have anything else to say on the power play, I think we'll move on to we'll be talking about a lot of the same players here, but we got a new look top line, and naturally with Kyle Connor.
Love it.
That's it. You okay? Just next topic.
Sign me up for more of it. That is the best look we've seen from a top line. I absolutely love every aspect of it. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited about this group, actually.
Man, watching that top line play tonight, like I'm trying to look to see, what exactly their their line's expected goals was. I know that they were dominating. They were 87%. Sorry, excuse me. Wow, that line was cooking tonight. They controlled the game. I don't know which line they were up against a lot tonight because
it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. No, they took over. And you know what I really like about this line? It kind of solves some of the issues that I found with when Velarde first came back and it was Perfetti, Velarde, and Iafallo. I just felt like that line had no speed whatsoever. This top line has kind of one of everything. You've got your speedy, smaller guy who's able to do everything that you need, all the important stuff that isn't really, as glorified. Just things like zone entries, things like dumping the puck in down low and being able to be the first guy there. But also on top of that, like you have the exact opposite, a guy who doesn't need to use his feet to be so effective, and Gabe Velarde, who, good grief.
He's a great support man. Great support man for those guys.
Oh my God. Put him in a phone booth with another player and the puck and you'll still get out with it somehow. And then Mark Scheifele, who's kind of a bit of everything. He's a bit of everything, maybe not defensively, but in regards to offense, he can do a little bit of it all, right?
Hey, think about this too. If this works, and you know what you have in Lowry's line as far as taking on tough matchups, think of Perfetti and Connor against third lines.
That's it's
why
right there.
Not think about it,
It's right there, guys. Just I'm gonna be so upset. And listen, it's only one game.
It's not gonna happen.
it's one game and it's against the Sharks. Again, Sharks have been good, but it's also still the Sharks. I'd like, we gotta see bigger sample of it. But boy, oh boy, if there's any silver lining to Kyle Connor getting injured, is that we are gonna see some new looks on this top line. We are gonna see some new looks on the power play. And realistically, injuries happen, man. It sucks. I wish the best for Kyle Connor. I would never ever hope for anyone to be injured. But at very least, the Jets get a chance to mix some things around. If push ever came to shove in the playoffs, you need to know what you can go to. And wow, that a banner game for that top line. They were great, despite not scoring, unfortunately. To move on, Morgan Barron got a bump to the second line, as we'll call it, in just for posterity's sake, so that everyone's on the same page. Because when you say the second line, they think of not Lowry's line, despite the fact that Lowry's line is the second line. Morgan Barron got a bump up. He's, he got one of the big goals in the game against the Ducks. He's been playing well recently, and he's a guy who I personally have wanted to see a little bit more from. What'd you think of his game today? And just that second line in total?
So if you're a listener to Top Line, Morgan Barron me and Jordan both have a soft spot for Morgan Barron. He's a great depth player. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be more. I don't think the offense is there. We kind of saw it even today. There was that 2-on-1 where he looked off the guy. It was a pretty not great look.
He didn't sell it.
So many. Yeah, he didn't sell well enough. Not like a shooter would.
No,
not like a shooter would. But he just does so many little things well. I like to see him get the bump, especially getting rewarded after the big goal. A player, yeah. I mean, his ceiling's probably a third line player anyways, and that's what I mean. I know we're calling it the second line, but that's what the line is being used as a third line. I think that's the right guy to kind of get the bump right now. I also find it interesting where Iafallo stands after
Yeah,
being on the top. I think that's the hidden story here, to be completely honest
that
with you.
that was
That's a
I.
$4 million fourth liner.
It's crazy his fall from grace because he had that starting like the when he first got bumped up to that top line, and he had the 2 goals in that first game. Everyone was just like, I love this guy. He's perfect. He's great. I want him. He's just the perfect third man to that. And ever since then, he's just kind of fallen down the depth chart. And I'm glad you brought that up because he has been just kind of like, and tonight was a really weird night. It was very difficult to get a grasp on how players played with certain other players just because of the lovely decision to go with 11-7, which I didn't even realize until the game had started and I saw Logan Stanley on the ice. But yeah, like what is going on with Iafallo? Like, is that a player, do you think, that is just kind of in the doghouse, or they just haven't found necessarily the right spot for him? Or are they going, we'll use him when we need him kind of thing?
I think they kind of, and he's not this player. I think he was getting compared to him a little bit, but I think they kind of look at him like the Matthew Perreault of old times. But the thing with Matthew Perreault is he drove play, whereas Alex Iafallo is a third. He's not going to drive you a lot. Let's put it that way. He's the third wing to whatever line he's on, and I think honestly, this is just foreshadowing where the Jets are going to be, especially if they bring in another forward, which I'm praying they do, because he's not going to. Well, I just don't like the one spot I would like to see him try if it's going to be anywhere in the top nine is like some kind of Appleton and him swap if you ever wanted to break up that line or give it
Mhm.
a new bump or whatever. Because you know what? I think they've had a bit of a slow
Yeah.
recent stretch that we're not talking enough about. But I don't know. I just think he's kind of, you look at the roster and he's a nice depth player, but it's hard for him to make a big impact in the top nine ahead of guys like Vladimir Meskov, who's been great.
Yeah.
Cole Perfetti, um, that Lowry line until of late. Like, where do you fit him higher that works?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you as far as that third line, second line is maybe the potential spot he could go to, because I think that he is just not being used correctly. Coming into the season, I knew that I wanted to see him with Scheifele as kind of the third guy, because I thought he could be maybe a little bit closer to a Zach Hyman type who can be kind of a hound in the corners and maybe have a bit of an offensive touch, but regardless will play well defensively. I think that at this point in his career, Alex Iafallo is maybe just a decent defensive forward. I would have to look at his metrics this year, but coming into from previous teams he was on with the Kings, he was always a defensive first forward. So for me, like I look at that player and I go, okay, well that should be a shutdown line guy. And I would hesitate to move Nino off of that line because I think that he's been kind of the offensive punch. But when was the last time that line has scored at 5v5? Like I can't think of it off the top of my head. Can you? Like, I don't know. It's it's certainly going to be an interesting place, and also like it just feels weird with the idea of adding someone like normally the Jets, when it comes to the trade deadline, are always a team that is kind of looking to fill around the edges because they have the top the top line talent or whatever you want to call it, or the star power. But it really
Is that
feels
true
like,
though?
well, but I'm just more saying, like, historically they've always been the fill out around the edges. I mean, and look for a second line center,
Yeah, that's
kind
a
of
pretty
team.
big piece of back-to-back deadlines, man. That's a pretty big. So okay, so here's where I think we have the Kevin Shovel day off narrative wrong. Because I'm actually gonna give him some credit here. Every time the Jets have been like firmly a top three team in the contender, he's got bigger fish hunted.
Yeah,
But when they've been this wild card version that we've all known hasn't been good enough, maybe he just kind of gave up on the season himself and said, "Hey, this team isn't worth the big fish." I'm wondering. I actually have some faith this year, and
Oh,
I think anyone that follows me knows I have absolutely zero faith in that guy. I actually think it's different.
oh, I don't know. Here's the thing. Like I think that it's so sorry. So I just want to be clear with your point. Are you saying that you do expect him to go big fish hunting this year?
I do 100%. I do. I think he looks at this team like 18, 19, and 17, 18 more than 19, 20, 20, 21, 21, 22.
Right. I would hope
A lot of
so.
time to change that, though. A lot of
That's
time to change
that
that.
that
It's
is,
December.
but at the same time, I mean, you can look at this team and you can go, okay, we've had a stretch where the star players carried the team. We've had a stretch where the depth has been able to do it for us and pick up the slack. We've had a stretch where the goaltending has saved our asses. So I mean, it's all about those three all hidden at the same time, and I think there's reason to believe in this team. You know, like there's a reason for Chevy to go, hey, it's not going to be,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be a waste of my time and energy and assets to go and trade a Chaz Lucius or a whoever or a pick for.
Send them. Send them. I'm
But
not hugging prospects.
but also at the same time too, Witten. I mean, like Chevy and the Jets have kind of made their bed. They've got Connor Hellebuck. They've got Mark Scheifele. They very clearly are win now mode. I'm sure there's been some handshake agreements that, hey, if we're in a good spot, we're gonna go for it, kind of thing. Again, depends on what Chevy considers, big fish hunting. Of course, we've had some pretty decent ones that have turned out really well. I'm really interested in seeing what he goes for. I know that you.
You just gave me another good point here quickly.
Oh no, hop in, absolutely.
So I was team buy last year until that February slide, and then I actually want them to trade PLD. Talk about switching the thing. I went from trade for Timo Meyer to trade
To
PLD
fraud.
off the roster. Yeah. But talking about the contract thing, the core was locked up 17, 18, 18, 19. And then we saw a bit of they were out of picks, out of prospects. They didn't go as hard. They're back to being in a similar spot. The team isn't as good, but they're back to being in a similar structure. So if we're looking historically, I'm still leaning that way, but I'll let you get back to where you're going.
Well, I mean, I was just going to go to, hey, there's been a lot of interesting news regarding, some pieces that may be available at the deadline. We've had, conversations of Jacob Vrana being put on waivers. We heard the report that the Flames are looking for a second for Chris Tanev, and maybe if the market pushes it up, a first round pick.
Yeah.
And also now, obviously tonight, if anyone was looking at the ticker, we all know that Craig Berube, previous ex head coach of the St. Louis Blues, got fired tonight. So that's a team that maybe might start tail spinning. Who are you looking at as potential ads? Maybe comment on the guys that I mentioned, and I already know you're already gonna. I put it right on a T for you.
I'd bust for Buchnevich. I'd bust for Buchnevich. That might be the hashtag this year. On the St. Louis thing, I gotta say, I think it's absolutely hilarious that Craig Berube gets canned for having an 80-point team on pace for 80 points. Like, who is lying to themselves and still thinks the St. Louis Blues are good? I had them as the second worst team coming into this year in the Central Division.
I think I did too.
Nothing
Yeah,
exciting about that team. There is nothing exciting about it. Chris Tanev, I think, is really interesting because I do think that's a piece that would fit in really well on this decor. I've said this a few spots, but I'm really curious about Chris Tanev beside Josh Morrissey because of the old Chris Tanev Hughes pairing, and I know Tanev's getting up there in age, but it's just something to ponder. It allows you to use Dylan DeMello a little bit lower too if you want him to carry a death pairing, right?
Put him back on babysitter duty.
Yeah, exactly, right. Not that that's necessarily a need. It's just something I'm intrigued by. And the interesting thing here that adds to my theory, the Jets have, in my opinion, 7, 8 prospects that I think teams would kind of rate. Now, obviously, some of those are higher end than others, but they have some depth there to move from. And that second round pick that they own is Montreal's. So when we're talking about some of these higher end assets that a Chris Tanev might fetch a second, Winnipeg Jets are in a really good spot to be offering up the most valuable second, one that's going to be closer to 30 than the 60. So I think the Jets are in a really good trading spot. We've talked about cap space in the past. They're still banking that, though they need to move out of some soon. I'm pushing this one. I'm actually very curious about this Philadelphia Winnipeg smoke, because out of nowhere, Philly's watching every game in the last 4. Logan Stanley's playing every game in the last 4 after sitting out.
Yep.
That's not a coincidence.
No,
and if you look
not.
at Philly, they're shopping Rasmus Ristolainen, they're shopping Nick Seeler, and they're shopping Sean Walker. So they're going to have 3 guys coming off their roster. They're going to need to backfill those with guys that you can fit on the roster that still ice a team this year, right? I'm going to throw this out to you. Here's what I'm suspecting is going on right now, and I want your opinion on this trade. Sean Walker to Winnipeg. The rental, he's at 2.65 mil. Having a really good year, though. I don't think the metric, something's goofy with the metrics. For Nate Schmidt, for Logan Stanley, and Winnipeg's first round pick.
Sean Walker for Logan Stanley, Nate Schmidt, and with no retention, and a first round
and
pick.
Winnipeg's first.
Okay.
How gross do you feel about that? Because I don't feel excited about it, but it's also like I get it.
Here's the thing. I've seen a lot of talk about Nathan Walker recently. I don't know enough about this guy. I'll be honest with you. Like, he just is not a player.
Yeah, I'll fill you in.
Like, what I know about him is that he was traded from the Kings to the Flyers and he was just added in. And then I remember seeing jokes about him being called a cap dump and now he's having a good season. I don't know enough about this player, so forgive me. I apologize. I just don't know enough.
I'll walk you through the thought process. So I think we know Nate Schmidt, it's going to cost to get her out of Nate Schmidt. It's just a reality of it with the extra year. If he was a rental, I wouldn't think so. But with that extra year at almost $6 million. I thought he had a good game tonight, by the way. But we're talking about the asset is just not there. So let's say to get out of Nate Schmidt, it costs you that Montreal pick we're talking about, pick number 40 and Nate Schmidt. You get future considerations. You call that a deal. Okay, so then I'm looking at it as Logan Stanley is not getting you Sean Walker. He's probably like a 5th round return at this stage, 6th round. I'll take a 7th happily. I will Uber and drive him to the airport. But that's
I don't know if he'll fit in your car.
He might not, but we're talking about a guy that's not worth much. So obviously you got to upgrade the pick a little bit, right? So you're going to go from pick 40 to pick, let's say 21, 22, hopefully later. The big sell here is getting out of $6 million. All of a sudden you're saving 3.5 the rest of the year, which you're banking for a big forward at.
Okay, so
and
go ahead.
One more thing. And it doesn't touch your farm system. So if something big still comes up that you want to be a part of, you're still in play.
Okay, so you're doing a good job selling me on this, but at the same time,
I don't love it. I don't love moving a first for Sean Walker. It's everything else attached.
That's and like, I'll be honest with you, like I would only do that deal if it's part of if it's part of a 3-way deal where we're getting someone else, where we are very clearly using that cap space that we are acquiring, you know? I know it doesn't really work out with having to bank cap and all that. I know. I unfortunately am a Nate Schmidt apologist. I think he's still a useful piece on this team. I understand that his place on this roster is on shaky ground, considering, you know, everything with Ville Heinola, with Declan Chisholm looked good. Logan Stanley, I'll even say, even though I would so far rather have Nate Schmidt in the lineup than Logan Stanley. I think that he's also good vibes wise. Like, I know that we try to stick ourselves to the objective truth, but I don't know. I think that that's really important for this team, is to have a fun,
Brady,
good vibe. You're what? Okay. What's up?
Start coping now, because by Friday, March 8th, 2024, he will not be a Winnipeg Jet.
That's
like, just come to that group right now.
Or he signs Leakman and just hangs out with the guys.
He's got another year.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, but like, see, I say that just more to be like, I don't think that, like, I'm already apprehensive to trading away that pick, but I'm like, I need reason to do that. I need reason why we are moving that.
Getting out of Naismith is plenty of reason, trust me. And you're upgrading that spot. You're
Just
getting
put
an
him out.
NHL defenseman for that spot. Hey, listen
Okay,
to me for a
what if you
second.
wait? I remember I saw you did the calculations. I swear. What if you waive him?
You gain 1.15 mil. So then you get good vibes on the Moose. Who fucking cares? We're
No,
giving this
I'm
guy a little bit
at
too
that
much
point.
here.
I'm at that point. I don't care about them. I'm more just saying, like, is it worth getting the extra? What is it? 4 mil from his
Yeah,
for a
that's almost
first
Pavel Buchnevich.
for a first round.
It's almost
Like,
Pavel
well, but
Buchnevich.
no, I know, but you're gonna have to trade stuff for Pavel Buchnevich as well too, or
Yes,
whoever
yes.
else.
Hey,
We don't even know if he's on the block. But I'm just.
What's the goal right now? Is it to just keep going, or are we actually gonna fucking put our foot down at some point? We gotta start paying attention to a cup. Like I don't want.
I agree with you.
We can't.
I
we
agree.
Can't move a pick. We
no,
can't move a pick.
I agree with you. I agree with you that you. But it's not the moving of the pick that's the issue. It's the moving the pick for for Nate Walker. Like it is
Sean Walker.
Sean
Put
Walker.
Some respect on his goddamn name.
Who's Nathan Walker? I said Nathan Walker earlier.
Oh,
isn't
he's
he
a right winger from Australia?
Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyways, well, let's move on from that. I don't know, but it's like I just more need to know that it's for a reason. Because giving up
what does Montreal's pick and Colby Barlow get you at the deadline? You're in some conversations.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I am definitely in the win now mode. I am willing to trade thing. But again, it's more my apprehension to that specific trade was more based on you being more based on just the trade as itself. And I get the cap space is valuable.
Guess what? I'd never have to do again if we do that. Watch Logan Stanley or Nate Schmidt play for my hockey team, and I'm okay with that sacrifice. I will get on Uber and drive both. I will do the lap around the city if I have to. I'll join you. Timmy Jones ain't helping me for the next 6 years at pick number 26.
I agree, man. Trust me, I agree. But anyways, I think we kind of hit on the guys that we wanted to talk about regarding the trade deadline. One final push. Is there any questions in the chat here? I'll ask as we are getting close to wrapping this up. What's up, buddy?
If it's Chris Tanev, are you getting rid of that first?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I want to see what the level here.
No, okay. Again, this comes down to me not knowing enough about Sean Walker, and going, I don't know enough about this guy. I have no qualms with getting rid of Nate Schmidt. I have no qualms with getting rid of. I certainly have no qualms with getting rid of Logan Stanley. I have no qualms with getting rid of a first round pick. It's just the reason I'm apprehensive to it is because I think that first round pick is also valuable in trade in other trade talks, in getting Buchnevich, in getting Chris Tanev, in getting all these players. And so that is why, and I understand the cap space is a part of it. Big
part of it, the biggest part of it.
But you can always make things work, and who knows? Maybe you don't have to pay a full first to get rid of. Again, like I'm not nixing that trade. I'm just here. I'm just asking.
It feels pretty gross, but I'm still all aboard. Like get the pedal down. Let's go. Okay, to the chat. If there's people in the chat, I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm not seeing questions yet, unfortunately.
That's okay. It's fucking it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
It is. We do have a surprising amount of people watching, considering we got 23 people in chat here. Please do like the stream. It was dreadful having to wait till 9:30 for the game to start, but it
tomorrow
was
too.
Hey, well, at least I'm not on tomorrow. Liz has her lover boy in LA to watch and comment on tomorrow's game over Winnipeg.
Gotcha.
But
so the Sparks are going to be flying.
The Sparks will be flying. Nick, can you give us a quick preview of tomorrow's game?
Oh, I think it's going to be ugly. I do not feel good about tomorrow's game at all, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. The LA Kings are the best team in the Western Conference right now, and they're getting us on a back-to-back. It's going to be one of those ones where Connor Hellebuck might need to stop 40 pucks.
I mean,
That team is very good, man. And they might even be bringing up their number one D-man of the future still to come.
yeah.
Have you seen what Brant Clark's doing in the AHL right now? Hockey Canada pisses me off forever keeping that guy off the juniors teams because of politics. He is so good at hockey.
Yeah.
I'd die to have a Brant Walker in our farm system. Brant Walker. We're talking too many Walkers now. Brant Clark.
Brant. You know what? We're getting a little delirious here. So you know what? I think it is time to close this one out.
You know what's gonna be painful tomorrow? When PLD scores the game winner.
No, when Gabe Vilardi scores the game winner.
Oh, hey, are we getting Vilardi versus Lazard tomorrow?
It might not be Vilardi, but it'll be Gabe. It'll be somebody going up against him. That's for sure. It'll be either Dylan, it'll be Lowry, maybe. Who knows? But
Dylan has the same amount of goals as PLD, by the way.
He didn't get. I don't think he got credit for the goal.
They did change it.
I think they changed it to Vlad. Sorry, buddy.
I thought that was a sick stat.
Hey, there's always tomorrow. With that, we are gonna leave you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you later today if you are in the Central Time Zone or anywhere that it's later.
Hey, I'll say this: the show's gonna start after 12, though, so you might not see them later today.
Oh yeah. Whatever, anyways, we will see you after the next game,
I know.
which will be against the LA Kings. Liz will be here giving you guys the recap after the game, so make sure you tune in for that. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. Nick, thank you so much, buddy. You made a show at 12:15. When did we start this? Fantastic. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you all for tuning in. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. We will see you next time. Peace.